especially from South Asia, in understanding really what the Gen Z movement has been. Just to say that the conception of these series of movements really happened with the trend of democratic backsliding. And this is something that we see in global debates on democracy today, that the trend of democratic backsliding has been a global factor, in fact, accompanied by really the democratic delivery deficit and the slide of most democracies towards authoritarianism. However, emerging right from South Asia in the past 2-3 years, there has been a significant change, primarily led by young people. And these movements, primarily led by young people, have been starting really having the foundations in South Asia. We saw them in Sri Lanka, where they took the name of Aragalya movement, wherein young people increasingly came to the streets to protest against the government, which ultimately led to the replacement of the government in Sri Lanka, a turn towards a more democratically elected government. In Bangladesh, we saw them as the July Uprising, wherein thousands of young people stormed the streets in Dhaka and elsewhere in the country as well, just to make sure and express their frustrations with the current government, which ultimately also led to a change in the government in Bangladesh. And in Nepal, where the movement finally got the global name that we know today, the name of Gen Z movement, where it really got the foundations and was primarily led by young people as actors of change. And now, of course, the Gen Z movement has been a global factor with its presence in Indonesia and across, Africa and Tanzania, Madagascar, Kenya, also in wider parts of Southeast Asia, including Philippines and Indonesia, and beyond and beyond. And we see these primarily young people as actors and coming together under common grievances. If we talk to these young people and we really understand what their grievances has been, it has ranged from corruption to this feeling of electoral capture by a group of elites, and the elites, as in the political elites, they're frustrated with institutional failures. There have been frustrations with the way the economies have been dealt with in unemployment. But almost in all of these places, a unilateral trigger has been the state repression. As we see, in the lifetime of most of these movements, there have been grievances, as I described, which have been common. But in most cases, the immediate trigger that has led to the governments being replaced has been repression and undue repression from the police forces of the states in most of these countries. And therefore, I call these movements really movements to reclaim democracy, led by young people, to gain back something that